So our next question is, will a revocable living trust protect my assets? I think they really mean like their parents' assets from Medicaid. So let's say mom and dad, they put uh, assets into a revocable living trust, and then later they need Medicaid. Does Medicaid count those assets? And I think, yes, I have this very trusty little treasure chest here. This is a trust. Okay. And so, say mom or dad have cash investments, and they put in a revocable living trust. Well, first of all, what is a revocable living trust? That is where the lid is open. So I put money in, and then later I go, I'm taking it back out. See, it's still mine. I can revoke it. I can make this whole thing just go away anytime I want. Well, does Medicaid count these assets? Does the VA pension, VA aid and attendance, do they count stuff that's in a revocable living trust? Absolutely. Because the rule is if I can reach in there and grab it, then the VA can grab it. Medicaid can grab it. And so Medicaid and VA would say, hey, those are your assets, use them. Okay. So definitely counts. We use something called an irrevocable trust for Medicaid planning, VA planning, because once I put that in there and then I apply for Medicaid or VA, and Medicaid or VA say, that's still your asset. I go, no, look, I can't open it. Okay. It has to be set up the right way, follow all the rules of the proper type of trust, but it can be done where that is put into an irrevocable trust and then it's protected. Now, go back to our earlier question. If I put money into an irrevocable trust, if I put a house, my residence, beach house, lake house, into a revocable trust, well, that's still mine. If it's irrevocable, well, now that's a gift because the trust didn't pay me for that. So it's a gift. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm looking at, remember, the 5-year look back period for Medicaid. So hopefully that answers the question on how does Medicaid, how does VA deal with the revocable living trust? Our last question has to deal also with revocable living trust and kind of estate planning in general. What do I think about? So I know I want to set up a trust. What kinds of things should cross my mind? Well, I just met with somebody, I don't know, 2 hours ago maybe, and we talked about this. And pretty sizable amount of assets. And the question is, what do you want to do with your stuff? So if you're disabled, if you pass away, what if your spouse passes away? What if you pass away and your spouse is still alive? What do you want to happen to your stuff? And, a lot of times when we ask that question, it's like, well, I want it to go to my relatives. Okay, that's good. Well, which relatives? We need to know. What percentage? Is it split equally? Not split equally? What is it? Do you want them to get it immediately? So I die and immediately that money goes to them. Well, that can be good or it can be bad depending on situation. What about if I'm married and I die, does all my stuff go to my wife and she owns it outright? Well, a lot of people say, yeah, that's great. And that could be perfectly fine. What if she remarries and then she sets up a will or trust and says everything goes to my new husband, then she dies? Well, what happens to my kids? Well, the new husband may not want to give that money to my kids. So maybe I say, well, when I die, some I want to go to my wife, some I want to go to my kids. Well, you can do that. There's no right or wrong answer. You just have to decide what's best for you. And think about, the people you're leaving this money to, can they handle an inheritance? Can they, are they in a stable marriage? Are they in a stable business, stable financial condition? Do you want it to be in a trust, for example? And it says, okay, when I die, then this money immediately goes to a certain beneficiary, a child, a spouse, whoever. Or maybe say, you know what, it's going to stay in this trust, and we may even make it to where that child cannot get to that money. Instead, a trustee, person with the key, has to give it to them to protect the money from creditors, divorces, bankruptcy, lawsuits, whoever it may be. So the things to think about are, what do you want to happen to your stuff? When do you want that to happen? And there's kind of a tension between immediate access to that money, that inheritance, and protection of that money, that inheritance. And so if we say, well, I want my child to be able to get to it just immediately, I mean, like at the funeral, they can grab that money. Okay, well, that certainly makes it easy, but also means it's easy to blow that money. It's easy to lose that money. It's easy to be sued or divorced or whatever it may be. He said, well, I want it fully protected. I don't want any spouse, ex-spouse, lawsuit, business partner to be able to get to that money. Okay, well, that's going to be hard for the child to get to it, because whatever the child can reach in and grab, their creditors and predators can reach in and grab. So again, no right or wrong answer. You just have to think about these things. And this is why, sometimes people say, well, what about LegalZoom? Or I don't know what the other one, Rocket Lawyer or something like that, or going to Office Depot and getting a form will. Will that work? A lot of times it will. So people say, well, it's, I don't know what it is, $200 on LegalZoom. How much do you charge for a trust or a will? I'm like, well, I don't sell a will. I don't sell a trust. What we sell is our process of helping you think through, well, what do you want with your stuff? I mean, if you say, I know exactly what I want, then I want everything to be left to my wife, and then when she dies, I want everything to go to my kids. Can you get that from LegalZoom? Sure. Now, you're not getting any counseling. You're not getting anybody saying, you do need to consider, what if the child is disabled? What if your wife remarries? What do you want to happen to the money? All those things. When people hire a lawyer, that's to get that counseling. So you go, here's where I am. Here's where I want to get to. It looks like this is the quickest way, but sometimes you might need to go like this, because that's actually the better way. So those are just some things to think about when you're talking about estate planning in general. My focus in this area of the law is really on elder law. So most of our clients are coming to us. There's been a crisis. Somebody's in an assisted living, in a nursing home. What do we do now? But in the kind of the context of doing all that sort of stuff, we do wills, power of attorney, revocable living trust. It's not our focus, but in order to do elder law, which is up here, you've got to understand the more basic estate planning. So hope that's helpful. I think that is all the questions that we have, at least that we have time for this week. Feel free to get in touch with us, 205-879-2447 or alabamaelderlawyer.com, or you can just leave a comment below this video about things we've talked about, or maybe a question you'd like to see us answer. We'll be glad to do that. You can also find us on Facebook. I forget the exact name of our Facebook page. I think it's Alabama Consumer Protection Attorneys. And we have a lot of people that comment on there and post on there. So you can also put a question on there. So I look forward to chatting with you next week. And thanks for watching this. Okay. Have a great day. Bye-bye.